This year's Roxbury International Film Festival got off to an early start with a challenge for new works. Showings at the festival itself will take place in June, but part of the lineup's already in place. To tell us what's planned is the festival's founder and director, Lisa Simmons. Thank you very much for being with us, Lisa.
Thank you.
I want to start with the opening night film. This is going to be a combination of live and animated. Talk about the story in this.
This is an incredible story. So the film is called Liana, and it's basically about a group of boys and a couple of girls who live in this orphanage in Swaziland. And they have a storyteller that comes in and helps it's really about sort of helping them get through the pain of the loss in their lives and other traumatic events that have happened in their lives. And so they create this story of this heroine. And so as the story is being told, it starts to get animated. So it's animated, but also part documentary in a way, and storytelling. It's a really unique and interesting way of filmmaking and of storytelling, which is really what our big theme is this year for the 20th anniversary, is storytelling and the importance of storytelling.
No, an entirely different kind of storytelling is documentary footage, and there's one film here that's made from footage that was recently discovered about a school boycott in Chicago.
You know, it's really interesting because I feel like there's been like this resurgence of film, and there's a play now going. You know, there was a play at the Calderwood that was about Detroit, and I feel like maybe because Detroit's going through this resurgence that people are taking a second look at it. So yes, this is a history of a segregation of segregated schools in Detroit, and how the boycott led to the desegregation of that.
Now, of course, there are elements here that might sound familiar if you're old enough to remember what it was like in Boston around the same time, because you have the students who were being artificially segregated as opposed to just being the ripple out of a segregated neighborhood, and had differences in facilities. So this sort of really hit home in a way too.
It does hit home, and it's really interesting because I feel like this the youth movement now, which is so important as we're seeing with anti-gun and what the youth are doing and how powerful they are. It reminds us of how powerful youth are and how powerful youth voices are. So I think it's a great film. I think it's really important for us to embrace and understand what youth are doing, and not only in the films that we have, but also we will have youth films at the festival as well that will be telling incredible stories about their lives and what they go through.
Another film, and this is getting back to the international aspect here. This is about a cover band in South Africa, the Lucky Specials.
What a great film! Another one that sort of uses animation in a way, and that's it's a wonderful part of filmmaking, is people now marrying both a narrative film with parts of it with animation. So, right, this is a great film, and it really is about the loss of one of the band members who loses somebody through tuberculosis. So it's really it's a great story and a narrative story, but it also is an educational story about TB and the importance of getting tested and sort of all of that goes around, living a healthy life and understanding, who you are and the people around you.
I mean, this is a very serious film. I'm sure this sort of casts a light on post-apartheid inequality in South Africa. And at the same time, this reminded me of watching a film like The Commitments.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's why it's so great. You have this it's like this really feel-good music, right? I mean, and you're cheering for them because they're a small town band in this mining community and a small South African, town. And it's true. It's really their story of celebration and their story of togetherness and their story of how they support each other. And that's what really resonates with you, I think, when you see this film.
One of the other films has a kind of a discomforting subject, and these are sort of, I don't call them souvenirs or racial caricatures.
Black memorabilia.
Yes, talk about that.
So Black memorabilia was made by local filmmaker Chico Colivard, who is a great filmmaker, and he was always creating these really interesting stories and makes you think about, the films that he makes are really thought-provoking pieces. So it's really, you go around and you go to thrift shops and you go to, all those places where you can find all this black memorabilia or memorabilia in general, and you pick it up and you think, oh, that's really interesting and that's really sweet and that's really historic, but you don't really think about the impact that those pieces of black memorabilia have had on the racial history in this country and what they meant. And so the film really talks about that and those issues around race through the lens of the collecting of memorabilia, and especially black memorabilia.
One thing I have to ask you about this festival, since over the past year or a little more than that, we've had Black Panther, we had films like Get Out, all that innovation and creativity. It makes me think of how much this festival is ahead of the curve.
Well, that's great to think that way. I mean, I think it's true. I mean, I think that independent film is always sort of ahead of the curve, and it takes Hollywood or studios a while to sort of catch up and make a commitment to these independent filmmakers. Now, Get Out's not independent, and Black Panther isn't either. But the people that made those films come from the independent world. And Ava's film, Wrinkle in Time, they all came from that. They weren't studio bred. They really, and you can see that in their films, and you can see the care that they take in making those films. And I feel that the independent filmmakers who aren't yet at that, haven't broken into Hollywood or studio or anything like that, have that same commitment to telling a story. And it really comes down to that. It comes down to telling a really rich and interesting story. And I think that independent filmmakers have been doing that for a really long time, which is why film festivals are so important, because oftentimes you're not going to see those stories anywhere else. Right?
Well, in June, people can see them anywhere from Dudley Square to the MFA, and you've got the website so they can get the more details?
Absolutely. Roxbury International Film Festival.com.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Lisa Simmons from the Roxbury International Film Festival.